the snowflake that became a star. The world of the eternal winter lay cloaked in perpetual frost, where days were no brighter than nights and the heavens wept. Not rain, but an endless cascade of snowflakes. Among these, one fell unlike any other. While her crystalline siblings tumbled in silent unity, dim and fleeting, she descended with a shimmer that seemed stolen from the stars themselves. Her light was faint, yet undeniable, a soft gleam that marked her as something apart. The northern winds, ever the guardians of whispered truths, christened her Lumina. The air sang as she spun downward, her delicate symmetry casting tiny rainbows on the snowfields below. She did not fall to rest as the others did, content to dissolve into the whiteness of the land. Instead, she lingered, weightless and aimless, her glow catching the attention of frost spirits who washed from the hollow trunks of frozen trees. The spirits murmured among themselves, their voices like cracking ice, wondering what manner of snowflake dared carry such light. Lumina herself did not know why she glowed. Her thoughts, new and raw as a winter dawn, wrestled with this question as she drifted. Beneath her, the world stretched vast and endless, a wilderness of ice and shadow. Above, the heavens loomed in unreachable splendor, a dark tapestry threaded with glints of silver. She yearned towards those glints, though she did not understand why. At last, her descent carried her to a quiet hollow, where the frozen surface of a lake mirrored the vast sky. She hovered there, suspended between the reflection below and the stars above, as though the two realms conspired to trap her in their cold embrace. For the first time, she felt small, not in the way all snowflakes were small, but in a way that made her glow flicker with uncertainty. "Why do you hesitate?" came a voice, soft, yet unyielding. It was the north wind, invisible but palpable, encircling her in currents of frost and curiosity. "I do not know my purpose," Lumina admitted, her voice faint as the frost clinging to autumn's last leaves. The wind laughed, a sound both kind and cruel. "Purpose? Snowflakes fall, melt, and vanish. That is their way. What makes you think you are different?" Lumina trembled, for she had no answer, yet her light, though fragile, refused to fade. It danced on the lake's icy surface, catching the attention of the moon, whose pale eyes seemed to turn towards her with sudden interest. "Go to the frozen forest," the wind whispered at last, its voice dropping to a conspiratorial hush. "There, the trees are ancient, and their roots reach deeper than the frost. Perhaps they will know what you seek." Before Lumina could reply, the wind swirled away, leaving her in silence. She drifted toward the edge of the lake, her glow now steady despite the encroaching shadows. The forest loomed ahead, its towering pines black against the moonlit snow. Beneath their branches, the air was still and heavy, as though time itself had slowed to a crawl. Lumina hesitated at the threshold, her glow catching on the jagged outlines of icicles that hung like teeth from the canopy above. She felt an unspoken warning in the air, but something stronger, a pull she could not name, drew her forward. The trees greeted her in their own way. They groaned and sighed, their ancient voices creaking through their frozen limbs. Among them stood one taller than the rest, its trunk gnarled and silvered with frost. It spoke without words, its presence filling the hollow space where Lumina hovered. "Why do you come to the heart of the forest, little light?" the tree seemed to ask, its voice a resonance that vibrated through the air itself. Lumina hesitated, her light dimming as doubt curled around her like the mist at the forest floor. "I do not know," she confessed, "but I feel I am not meant to fade as the others do." The tree regarded her, its boughs shifting as though the stars themselves weighed upon its branches. "You are right to seek," it said after a long silence. "But to find the answer, you must first embrace the journey. The glow you carry is both a gift and a burden, for it will draw shadows as surely as it draws light." "Shadows?" Lumina asked, the word sending a shiver through her fragile form. "The world is vast and filled with mysteries you cannot yet understand," the tree replied. "If you wish to uncover your purpose, you must go where no snowflake dares tread. But be warned, the path is treacherous, and the questions you ask will demand answers from the depths of your being." With these words, the tree's branches pointed toward the horizon, where mountains etched jagged lines against the dark sky. Lumina turned her gaze to them, her glow brightening with the faintest spark of resolve. She did not understand her path, but she knew it had begun. The wind returned, carrying her gently toward the mountain's shadow. Behind her, the forest sighed, as if bidding farewell to something fragile yet unbreakable. The mountains loomed like great slumbering beasts on the horizon, their peaks veiled by storm clouds that churned with silent menace. Lumina moved toward them, her light wavering under the weight of the cold winds. Whispers trailed her, carried on the icy currents, 1,000 voices, fragmented and elusive, like echoes trapped in the frost. "Beware the shadow. She carries the light. She will shatter the veil." The voices slithered through her, chilling her more deeply than the winter air. She tried to ignore them, focusing on the pale glow she cast upon the snow. Yet the whispers crept closer, and with them came a sense of being watched, as though unseen eyes peered from the edges of her path. The land grew harsher as she ascended. Snowfields turned to jagged slopes of ice, and the once quiet winds howled with ferocity. Shapes moved at the periphery of her vision, fleeting, amorphous, and dark. There were shadows, she realized, born of no light, yet drawn irresistibly to hers. They writhed and coiled, their formless bodies shifting with a malevolent hunger. "Why do you pursue me?" Lumina asked, her voice trembling with both fear and defiance. The shadows did not answer. Instead, they closed in, forming a shifting wall that blocked her path. Lumina hesitated, her glow dimming under their oppressive presence. Then, from within the mass, a single shape emerged, taller, more solid than the others. It bore no face, only a void where eyes might have been, and yet she felt its gaze pierce her. "You are the one who glows," it said, its voice a low rumble like distant thunder. "Why do you travel toward the peaks? Do you not know the fate that awaits you there?" "I travel because I must," Lumina replied, though her glow flickered with uncertainty. I seek my purpose. The shadow laughed, a sound as cold and empty as the winter sky. Purpose? There is none for those like you. Snowflakes fall and fade. That is their truth. Why do you resist it? I do not believe that is my truth, Lumina said, her voice soft but steady. I was not made to fade. I was made to shine. The shadow recoiled slightly, as though her words carried a power it could not grasp. Its formless edges wavered, but it did not retreat. You are a fool, it hissed. Your light will not protect you. The higher you climb, the darker the shadows become. You will see. With that, the shadow and its brethren dissolved into the winds, leaving Lumina alone on the icy slope. The air grew heavier in their absence, as though the mountain itself sought to test her resolve. Still, she pressed onward, her glow brighter now, defiant against the encroaching darkness. The climb was grueling. The snow beneath her seemed endless, and the wind tore at her fragile form. At times, she faltered, her light flickering as doubt gnawed at her. The shadow's words echoed in her mind, planting seeds of uncertainty. What if they were right? What if she was chasing a purpose that did not exist? But with each step, the memory of the ancient pine's words returned. Your light was meant to be tested, and so she moved forward, even as the shadows returned to haunt her, whispering doubts that burrowed deep into her fragile core. By the time she reached the foot of the tallest peak, the sunless sky had turned a deep, oppressive grey. Before her stood a narrow pass, its walls of ice so sheer they reflected her glow like fractured mirrors. Within the pass, the shadows gathered once more, their presence thick and suffocating. They did not speak this time, but their intent was clear. They would not let her pass without a fight. Lumina paused, her glow faltering. For a moment, she thought of turning back, of abandoning her quest and allowing the shadows to claim her. But then she looked past them to the faint glimmer of the peak beyond. Something stirred within her, a warmth that defied the cold and a certainty that, despite her fear, this was the path she was meant to take. I'm not afraid of you, she said, though her voice quavered. You may surround me, but you will not extinguish me. With that, she surged forward, her glow flaring with a brilliance that pierced the shadow's dark forms. They shrieked and writhed, their bodies unraveling under her light. One by one, they dissolved, leaving the pass clear. Lumina emerged from the pass, her glow flickering but triumphant. She looked back only once, to see the shadows retreating into the mountain's depths, their whispers fading into silence. Ahead, the summit rose, its peak shrouded in mist. Somewhere beyond it lay the answers she sought. Though her journey was far from over, Lumina felt a quiet sense of resolve settle within her. The shadows had tested her, and though they had left her shaken, they had not claimed a light. She pressed onward, her glow steady against the vastness of the eternal winter. The summit rose above Lumina, shrouded in swirling mist that glimmered faintly with the light of distant stars. The ascent had left her fragile, her crystalline edges softened by the unrelenting winds, and her glow dimmer than it had been. Yet she pressed on, the pull of her unseen destination stronger now than ever. She was close to something, though she could not name what it was. The shadows no longer followed her, but their presence lingered in her thoughts. Their words, though silenced, had planted seeds of unease. What if they were right? What if her light was an aberration, not a purpose? The questions gnawed at her as she climbed, each step heavier than the last. At last, the mist parted, revealing a hollow carved into the mountain's icy peak. In its center stood a tall, jagged structure of ice, unnaturally smooth and reflective. It caught the faint light of the stars above, refracting it in countless directions like a broken prism. Lumina knew, without being told, what this was. The whispers of the northern winds had reached her even here, warning her of this place, the mirror of fear. She hesitated at its threshold, her glow flickering as if in anticipation of what lay ahead. The silence was heavy, oppressive, as though the mountain itself waited for her to take the final step. Gathering what little courage she had, she drifted forward, her light casting strange shadows on the crystalline walls of the cavern. The mirror loomed before her, a shard of frozen starlight. Its surface did not reflect the hollow or the peaks surrounding it. Instead, it showed something far more intimate. Lumina saw herself, not as she was, but as she feared she might become. Her light, so steady and persistent, now flickered uncontrollably. She watched as the glow dimmed further, shrinking until it was nothing more than a faint ember. Then even that disappeared, leaving behind only a husk of fragile ice that dissolved into the winds. The vision twisted, showing her consumed by shadows, her glow stolen and her essence forgotten. Again and again, the mirror played out her fears in agonizing detail, each scenario darker than the last. "No," Lumina whispered, retreating. But the mirror held her gaze, its pull irresistible. The shadows from her ascent, the voices of doubt, they had followed her here, coalescing into the images that now danced across the mirror's surface. "You are not enough," the reflections seemed to whisper. "Your light will fade. You are nothing but a fleeting spark in an endless winter." Lumina's glow dimmed further, her resolve fracturing under the weight of her fear. The mirror did not lie. It could not lie. It showed only what already existed within her, and what it revealed was terrifying. A truth she had fought to avoid, a truth that threatened to undo her entirely. Trembling, she turned away, but the cavern seemed to close in around her. There was no escape, no path forward unless she faced what the mirror demanded of her. The mountain had brought her here for a reason, and she knew that leaving would mean abandoning the purpose she had sought so desperately to find. "Why do you fear your end?" a voice echoed from within the mirror, though it was her own, fractured and hollow. "Do you not see that all light fades? Even the stars themselves cannot burn forever." Lumina was silent. The voice was right. Perhaps her glow was doomed to fade. Perhaps the shadows would consume her, and her purpose would remain forever unknown. But deep within her, a spark stirred, small but insistent. It was not defiance, nor even courage. It was a simple truth, one she had carried all along. Her light existed not to avoid the dark, but to shine through it. I am not made to endure forever, she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. But I am made to endure now. My glow is small, yes, but it is mine, and as long as it burns, I will not let it be extinguished. The words were simple, but they carried a power she had not known she possessed. Her glow flared, filling the cavern with a brilliance that caught the jagged edges of the mirror and refracted into countless beams. The shadows that clung to the mirror's surface writhed and twisted, their forms dissolving under the light. The mirror cracked, a single fissure running down its center, followed by another and another. With a deafening shatter, it broke apart, the shards dissolving into fine mist that drifted away on the wind. The cavern grew still once more, but it was no longer oppressive. Instead, it fell open, as though the weight of the mountain had lifted. Lumina hovered in the quiet, her glow stronger now than it had been since her journey began. The fear that had gripped her was still present, but it no longer held her. She had faced it and found herself intact. Beyond the shattered mirror lay a narrow path, carved into the ice as though waiting for her. Without hesitation, she followed it, her glow lighting the way. Somewhere beyond the mountain, her true purpose awaited. The path beyond the shattered mirror wound upward through the mountain, a thin ribbon of frost suspended between shadow and light. Lumina followed it, her glow steady now, though the air grew thinner with each step. The icy walls around her glittered with a faint, otherworldly radiance, as though the stars themselves had left their traces behind in this desolate place. The silence here was unlike the oppressive quiet of the mirror of fear. It was vast and resonant, as if the space itself was alive, watching and waiting. Lumina felt the weight of the cosmos pressing down on her, not with malice, but with an unspoken expectation. Whatever lay at the end of this path, it would demand something of her, something she wasn't certain she could give. As she climbed, the icy walls began to fade, dissolving into a boundless expanse of darkness. She drifted forward, unsure if she was still on the path or if she had crossed into some other realm entirely. The void stretched endlessly, but it was not empty. Pinpricks of light blinked in the distance, faint and scattered like the first stars of creation. One by one, the lights began to stir. They shifted and swirled, forming constellations that pulsed with life. Lumina watched, entranced, as the patterns unfolded like ancient maps, tracing paths that seemed to lead both outward and inward at once. The lights were vast, yet familiar, as though they carried within them the echoes of something she had always known. "You have come far, little light," a voice said, deep and resonant, as if the darkness itself had spoken. Lumina turned, though she saw no source for the voice. "Who are you?" she asked, her glow trembling slightly in the vastness. "I am the keeper of the stars," the voice replied, "the guide for those who rise from the earth to seek the heavens. And you, Lumina, are one who is never meant to remain below." The words filled her with both wonder and unease. "I don't understand," she said. I'm just a snowflake. How could I belong among the stars? The keeper's laughter was soft but powerful, resonating through the void. Are you still so blind to your nature? Snowflakes fall, yes, but they are born from the same forces that shape the stars. You are no different. Your glow was never meant to fade in the frost. It was meant to rise, to join the eternal dance of light. Lumina hesitated. The keeper's words stirred something deep within her, a truth she had sensed but had not dared to believe. Yet doubt still lingered, fragile and persistent. But I'm small, she said. How can one light like mine make any difference in the vastness of this darkness? Do you not see? The keeper replied. Even the smallest star holds back the void. Your light is not meant to conquer the darkness, but to live within it, to illuminate the paths that others cannot see. As the keeper spoke, the stars above began to shift once more. This time they moved toward her, their brilliance growing as they drew near. They circled her, their light mingling with her own, and in their glow, she saw glimpses of the journey she had taken, the shadows that had pursued her, the fears she had faced, the mirror she had shattered. Your light is forged in trials, the keeper said. Each shadow you overcame, each fear you confronted, strengthened the glow within you. It is this strength that makes you ready. Ready for what? Lumina asked, her voice barely a whisper. To ascend, the keeper said simply, to take your place among the stars. The lights around her began to shift, their glow intensifying. They wove together, forming a bridge of irradiant threads that stretched upward into the infinite expanse. Lumina hesitated for only a moment before she drifted toward it. The bridge pulsed with warmth, a feeling unlike anything she had known in the cold of the eternal winter. It was as if she had stepped into the heart of her own glow, the very essence of what she was. As she ascended, her form began to change. The delicate symmetry of her crystalline body dissolved, replaced by trails of shimmering light. She felt no fear, only a sense of release, as though she was shedding the weight of her old self. The farther she rose, the brighter she became, her glow merging with the brilliance of the stars around her. The keeper's voice echoed one last time. You were never meant to remain a snowflake, Lumina. You were always a star waiting to rise. And with that, the darkness fell silent, leaving only the light of Lumina's ascent. She climbed higher still, her glow illuminating the void until she became indistinguishable from the stars she had once yearned to touch. The summit of the mountain faded far below, a memory now distant and faint. Lumina had found her calling, not as a fragile snowflake bound to the frost, but as a beacon in the endless night, a reminder that even the smallest spark could illuminate the vastness of the cosmos. The infinite void wrapped around Lumina like a velvet curtain, vast and unknowable. The bridge of radiant threads beneath her seemed both solid and ephemeral, a path woven from the essence of light itself. Each step, or was it a drift, carried her farther from the world she had known, the icy realm of eternal winter now see a faint memory behind her, As Lumina ascended, her glow began to change. It pulsed in time with the lights around her, growing steadier, stronger, more vibrant. She no longer felt fragile or small. Instead, she felt as if the essence of the cosmos was flowing into her, merging with her light and expanding her being. Yet, with each pulse of her glow, she also felt a question rising within her, unspoken but persistent. What does it mean to become a star? The keeper's voice returned, faint and distant, but still resonant enough to fill the vastness. To be a star is to illuminate not only the world, but the paths of those who dwell within it. It is to embrace transformation, to allow the light within you to expand until it touches the edges of the infinite. But what will I become? Lumina asked, her voice trembling with both anticipation and fear. Will I still be myself, or will I lose everything that I was? The keeper's laughter was warm this time, like the first touch of sunlight after a long winter. You do not lose yourself, little light. You become more of what you already are. Your journey has shaped you, each trial adding to your glow. The snowflake you were is not lost. It is the foundation of the star you are becoming. The words settled over Lumina like a comforting mantle, but they did not quiet the ache of transformation. Her form, once crystalline and defined, was now unraveling into threads of light, each one radiating outward, as though seeking to touch the furthest corners of existence. It was not painful, but it was disorienting, as if she were dissolving into something far greater than herself. Above her, the stars shimmered in patterns she had not noticed before. They pulsed rhythmically, forming a great celestial web that seemed to vibrate with a silent song. It was a song she could not hear, yet somehow understood. A melody of creation and connection, of light reaching through the darkness. You feel the song, don't you? The keeper asked, its voice now closer, as if it stood beside her. Yes, Lumina whispered, but I don't know what it means. It means you are no longer just one light, the keeper replied. You are part of the symphony now, a thread in the tapestry of the cosmos. But even as you become one with it, your light remains unique. This is the paradox of the stars. They are many, yet each is singular. The realization struck Lumina with a force that both terrified and thrilled her. She was dissolving, yet she was not disappearing. She was expanding, yet she was not losing herself. The glow she carried, at once small and fragile, was now vast and uncontainable, stretching across the darkness like a sunrise. As she ascended the final stretch of the bridge, the stars around her began to move. They shifted and danced, their light weaving patterns that seemed to welcome her. Then, as she reached the summit of her journey, they parted, revealing a single pulsing light at the center of the void. It was a star, but not like the others. Its glow was warm and golden, its radiance alive with energy and possibility. Lumina felt its pull, an irresistible invitation, and without hesitation, she drifted toward it. As she drew near, her form dissolved completely, becoming one with the star's light. It was not an end, but a beginning, a transformation so profound it defied understanding. She was no longer a single snowflake, fragile and fleeting. She was a star, her glow a beacon that pierced the infinite night. From her place in the heavens, Lumina could see the world she had left behind. The eternal winter was no longer cloaked in endless frost. Her light, now woven into the cosmos, had touched it, melting the ice and allowing warmth to return. The shadows that had once pursued her were gone, banished by the radiance she had become. And yet, Lumina did not dwell on her past. She felt no need to look back. Her light was part of something greater now, a guide for those who, like her, sought their purpose in the vastness of the unknown. Above and below, the cosmos stretched on, infinite and eternal. And within it, Lumina burned bright, her light a reminder that even the smallest spark, forged in trials and fear, could ascend to illuminate the stars, the stars, the stars, the stars, the stars.